Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we're looking at the DC Icons Harley Quinn. Now you guys know some of the Icons figures have been a little bit disappointing, but some of them have been pretty cool, so fingers crossed this is one of the cool ones. I decided, at least I think I decided, to only stick with Batman-related characters directly related to Batman, not like Superman because he's related to Batman in a sense. And I don't mean familial relation. Anyway, so I'm gonna keep getting the icons that are connected to Batman. That's why I have Harley Quinn, and that's why I haven't had some of the other ones. She looks pretty good. She's got some really nice features, and she's got a couple of issues, which we're gonna talk about all of those, so you guys can decide if you want to pick her up or not. So let's get her off the stand and take a closer look. Alright, so Harley stands just about 15, little over 15 centimeters, just a tiny bit, which makes her just shy of 6 inches. So, you know, they are the smaller scale. She's actually probably in scale for a 1/12 scale figure, actually, so that's a good thing, kind of. It depends on who you're trying to pose her with, so that's going to be up to you. She's probably a true, although still kind of tall, 1/12 scale figure. Most like DCUC, Marvel Legends, those kind of things are actually larger than 1/12 scale, but that's not the biggest deal here. So before we get into the figure, let's look at the accessories. We do get her mallet, which you saw on the rotating display stand in the beginning. We get a hand holding a cork pistol. And then, of course, we get the 2 fist hands that come with her in the package, and then we get the 2 gripping hands for the hammer. That's about it. So it's not bad. It's a good amount, I think. And if the figure's good, then we have nothing to complain about. Decent amount of accessories, decent figure, $20 price tag. So let's see if the figure lives up to that. She's basically got 3 colors of paint. We have the red, the black, and the white. Now, some parts are molded in red, some parts are molded in black, and then some parts are painted, vice versa. I can't tell which are which without actually looking on like the insides of the parts or anything like that, so that's a good thing. The paint job is uniform, the molded plastic is uniform, so very happy about that. The paint job for the white could definitely be a little bit cleaner. We can see here, if you look at her hand, there's a little bit of spillover up on the arm. Same thing on this side, actually a little bit more there, so it's not great. The paint job down the middle for the paneling, it's actually pretty clean, so I like that. And then the paint job on her collar piece, which is a separate molded piece, which is nice and soft. So that's a good thing, but it's kind of dirty looking. I don't know, I don't know if it's supposed to be shading or if it's just not well painted. It could be better, but it's not too bad, so that's a good thing. You do see a little bit of fuzziness up here in the paint job on the neck. Luckily, it's only really a problem on the neck, so it's not the biggest deal. As far as painting the boots, they're a little bit cleaner than the wrists, but not by a whole bunch, but it's probably fine. Now for the face, this is something I wasn't really expecting. They used the dot matrix printing, which is, I'm assuming it's still tampography like they use for most details on figures, but it's that dot kind like we see on the SH Figure Arts. And it looks good. If you don't get too close, which is like really, really close, if you're just at arm's length handling the figure, it looks really good. You can see that nice shading, the nice paint job for the eyes and the mouth. Everything's really nicely done, so I like that a whole bunch. But we do have one glaring issue in the paint job, and that is, one issue is the diamonds. Some of the diamonds, as you can see right there, they're fairly well uniform. They're kind of scrunchy looking though, right? You see how they're kind of shorter than they should be, especially the bottom 2. This side right here, pretty good. These kind are pretty well uniform, but you can see a little bit of a curve to it, and this one's kind of skewing. And then if we look back here, this is a great example of the problem. The way they did the tampography to get those on there, it skewed them horribly. Those are not diamonds. This one's a square, this one's a messed up square, and this one's even worse. So that is an issue, and it's noticeable throughout all of those, even the one down here on her leg. It's not as bad, but it is noticeable, so be aware of that. It's kind of frustrating that they couldn't get something so simple. I mean, it's clean, but they're really skewed, so it's a little bit of a bummer. As far as the articulation goes, the head can move around pretty well. It doesn't have the best range of motion. It's just a ball peg, but you can rotate it around, lean it from side to side, lean it forward and back. I think it's going to be more than enough, so that's a good thing. The shoulders, it's basically a standard ball hinge. You can get the arms, let's see if it'll go any farther. Nope, you're going to get them just about horizontal, maybe a little bit less, but I think that's okay. They're going to have the full rotation, so that's a good thing. Bicep swivel's fine, double jointed elbows fine, wrists Since the hands are interchangeable, of course, we have our swivel, and they all have a hinge in them, so that's pretty good. There's another example of the diamonds not being perfectly well done. Clean but crooked. Now we have our diaphragm joint at the rib cage. Personally, I'd like to see that up under the breastises, the boobages, just because it hides the joint a little bit better, but it's perfectly functional here, so no complaints, and it actually works pretty well with the that cross pattern right there, so it's pretty good. So you can rotate it around. It's a little stiff, but you can do it. She leans from side to side really well. She leans forward, not so much, or back with that joint, but you do get your ab crunch down here, which it still doesn't deliver that much range, but it's good enough. I think you'll be okay, and you can lean her pretty far back with the two joints there, so I think that's pretty good, more than acceptable. We do have some nice sculpt work throughout the torso also with the, did I say also twice? Losing my mind here, guys. We have the seams sculpted, and then there are some wrinkles going across her abs and again across her boobages, so that's a good thing. For the hips, we have rotation forward, so we can do that, which goes pretty far forward. No real complaint there. They go back just a tiny bit, a little bit back, and then they go out to the side pretty far. Not complete splits, but pretty darn far, and I think that's pretty good, and they don't look too bad, so that's a good thing. We have no thigh swivel, though. You can kind of force a tiny bit of rotation, but that's just because of how they're connected, so it's not functionally usable. It doesn't really do much. For the knees, we have a double jointed knee, so that's pretty good. Good range there. Decent looking knee joint. Pretty happy about that. And then for the ankles, we have a hinge that goes all the way back. Goes pretty far forward. I think that's a good amount. And then we have our ankle rocker, which does come off at a bit of an angle, but it works pretty well. Now, here are two problems in the articulation. Obviously, not having a thigh swivel, it's a bit of a hindrance, but it's not totally horrible. We don't have a shin swivel to accommodate for the crooked ankle rocker, though, so that's a bit of a bummer. And that's basically the same issue, because if you have the thigh swivel or the shin swivel, you can kind of accommodate for this coming off at an angle like that, but it's not that big of a deal. But here's one thing, and it's actually not a big deal either, but it's worth noting. The leg is aligned to be facing the camera right now, but as you can see, the hinge for the foot puts the foot off at an angle. Now I know some people have their feet off at an angle, but that's not the way your body's supposed to work. Your foot's supposed to be in line with your knee. So it's a little bit odd. It's a little bit tricky to pose her with her foot coming off to the side. It's not quite as bad on this side, but it is somewhat of an issue just to be aware of. But all in all, it's a really solid figure, and I'm actually very pleased with it. I think they did a good job with this Harley Quinn, and it makes me actually kind of excited to get some more of the Icons figures. So there you go, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see my upcoming figure reviews, custom figures, and other good stuff. We have new videos every single day. We do gaming, action figures, movie talk, TV talk, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you subscribe, and in the meantime, keep collecting.